Up next, our first look at the DD2 class for the 2-speed Rotax Max karts, with the grand final for the Masters category, which caters for drivers aged 32 and above. Having just about made it to the grid after an engine change, the 446 kart of Dennis Kroos. He qualified 6th, but the team then discovered a loss of compression in his engine and have been forced to change both the cylinder and the piston. Not exactly the ideal preparation for the biggest race of the year, but Kroos was just happy to make the grid. So the karts head onto the formation lap ahead of the 21-lap grand final, with South Africa's Cristiano Morgado on pole in kart 439. Alongside him, Campbell Scott from Canada in kart 414. And starting third, Britain's David Griffiths in the 422 kart. They come around then, but it's going to be a full start. The officials not happy with the formation of the karts, and so they'll be sent around again. Everyone keen to gain an early advantage, but they have to remain bunched up until they cross that start-finish line. But we're away this time, and it's a fantastic start for David Griffiths in the blue race suit. He carves across from the outside of the front row and leads the way from Cristiano Morgado. A couple off onto the grass. One of them is Jerry Hargatai, the multiple Hungarian karting champion. Through turn one they charge, bit of wheel banging, one kart spins. Now that's 440, which is Igor Mukin, the Russian driver, and he qualified 7th on the grid, so was one of the contenders for a podium finish, but he's out of contention at turn 1. Excellent start to the race though for David Griffiths. The British driver leads the grand final, and up to second place now has come Scott Campbell in kart 414, the Canadian coming from 4th on the grid. Down to third place then has gone the pole sitter Morgado, the South African in the green and white race suit. In 4th place is the Irishman Martin Pearce, and 5th, I reckon, is Charlie Hipp. And if that's right, then it's been a fantastic start for the Frenchman, because he started 12th on the grid. Having shot into the lead, Griffiths has already managed to pull a few kart lengths lead, and casting my eye back to confirm, yes, it is number 426, Charlie Hipp in 5th, so he shot forward 7 places in the first lap. Good effort. On to lap 2, and Hipp can draw alongside Pearce to challenge for 4th place. He's got the momentum. Can he complete the move at turn 1? Bit tight in the battle for 2nd as well, but Campbell stays ahead of Morgado, and in the background looks like Martin Pearce managed to fend off Hipp for 4th. So it was close, but no changes yet. There's the leader, 422, David Griffiths, 2nd to Cristiano Morgado in the pre-final, the race which set the grid for this one. Campbell and Morgado hanging onto the leader now as they settle into the race, with the three of them now together in the battle for 4th. Pearce and Hipp now joined by the home favourite, Portuguese driver Gonçalo Galvão in the red and yellow colours. He's 6th in the 465 kart, and there's been an absolutely fantastic start to the race for Luc Soriol in kart 453. The Canadian has rocketed from 16th on the grid to 7th place. But just as I say that, he loses the position to Alan Rudolph, the American driver in the background. Nonetheless, 16th to 8th in a lap and a half is a great way to start the grand final. It seems that the even side of the grid got away much better than the pole side. What can Morgado do here? The South African fell from 1st to 3rd at the beginning of the race. He's starting to pick up the pace now as we cut back to the battle for 4th. That was Charlie Hipp, Martin Pearce and Gonçalo Galvão, all will to will, and it was Pearce who comes out on top. He's 4th, Galvão up to 5th, and Hipp falls back to 6th place. So this grand final starting to liven up now. This Portimao circuit has certainly proven to be one where overtaking is possible, especially on that long run into turn 1. Almost identical times now for the top 3, but nobody's making the move just yet. It's all happening further back, side by side in the battle for 6th, and it's the American Alan Rudolph who squeezes by to take the position away from Charlie Hipp. And up ahead there's a change of lead. Scott Campbell has moved ahead of David Griffiths. Also at turn 1, the Portuguese driver Galvão has just outbraked Martin Pearce for 4th place. So a change for 1st, a change for 4th, and a change for 6th, all within about 5 seconds of each other. Here's the new race leader then, Canada's Scott Campbell, from Britain's David Griffiths, with the South African Cristiano Morgado still 3rd. Scratch that, Morgado goes 2nd. He won the event last year when it was held in the United Arab Emirates, and so he's defending champion, and he's showing us just why here. He kept cool for 4 laps and waited to pick his moment. Meanwhile, David Griffiths, who led the race for the first 4 laps, finds himself pushed back to 3rd place all of a sudden. But there's still a long way to go in this DD2 fight. Things are getting very interesting here at the Cartodromo Internazionale Algarve for the 13th running of the Rotax Max Grand Finals, effectively the World Championships for these 125cc karts, with 5 laps into the 21-lap final for the DD2 Masters category, the twin-speed karts driven by the veteran racers, if you will, the 32-year-olds and above. Here are the top 3 glued together, and it's all changed at the hairpin as South Africa's Cristiano Morgado dives down the inside of Scott Campbell to relinquish the Canadian of the lead. Well, two-time and reigning champion Cristiano Morgado started from pole, quickly dropped to third, but now he's working his way back into first place. Scott Campbell down to second, and then it's former race leader, Britain's David Griffiths, in third. 5 laps, 3 different leaders, and surely there's more to come. Morgado is one of the most experienced Rotax Max racers out there. He won the DD2 final last year, but he was champion in the senior Rotax single-speed class way back in 2003. And behind him, second place changes hands once again. This time it's David Griffiths in the blue race suit who goes on the attack and succeeds in getting past Scott Campbell. Incredible this, in the space of the last lap we've had 3 changes of lead. For example, David Griffiths has been first, second, third and then second again. So they're swapping positions all the time, but they are managing to do so without really holding one another up. Normally when you see an intense scrap like this with drivers out braking one another on a regular basis, the drivers actually slow each other down because they're all fighting over the same piece of track and not actually taking the quickest route through the corners. If one driver gets alongside, the others just let him go and doesn't over-defend the corner, which is why this next group of karts have not as yet been able to close the gap. Gonzalo Gaivo remains their nearest challenger in 4th place. Meanwhile, it's neck and neck for the race lead, and David Griffiths is through. So that's yet another change, and it puts the Briton, who made such a fantastic start to the race, back on top. Doesn't last long, though, about 3 corners, because back comes Cristiano Morgado. Well, surely they can't keep this up. We're only just over a third of the way through the race. Terrific spirit being shown by both Morgado and Griffiths here, both totally determined to get their noses in front. Through turn 1, then coming up to this rapid right-left flick through turns 2 and 3 onto a short straight and towards one of the key overtaking spots, the hairpin. Hard on the brakes, and the leaders go shoulder to shoulder once again, and Griffiths leads once more. Let's see if he can hold on to it for a little longer this time. It's certainly not a 2-horse race. Scott Campbell is right back onto the tail of Griffiths and Morgado, and do not rule out further intervention because the 4th place driver, Gonzalo Gaivo, is just beginning to close the gap. The Portuguese driver is not significantly quicker, but he's definitely getting there. I'm not sure there's still a threat from any further back though, because the likes of Martin Pearce, himself another former champion, and Alan Rudolph in 5th and 6th positions are the best part of 5 seconds back now. Doesn't sound a lot, but 5 seconds is a pretty huge gap in karting. So here they come again, Griffiths, Morgado and Campbell. This is where they'll start to slipstream one another. And there's Morgado, he jinks right then left as they fly into the first corner. And Morgado is through. Griffiths pushed back to second, pushed back to third, because Campbell gets by as well, taking full advantage as Griffiths was caught on the back foot after Morgado came charging through. And right there with them now is Gonzalo Gaivo, who very nearly got ahead of Griffiths as well. It's Cristiano Morgado back into the lead then, with Scott Campbell second, David Griffiths third, Gonzalo Gaivo fourth. So Griffiths has got it all to do again. He's led, he's been demoted to third, led again, and now it's back to square one. But they're all used to this. It's the way of karting. You have to battle for every position on every single lap. Very rare is it you see someone shooting off into the distance and winning a race easily, particularly in a class like Rotax Max, where they're running on the same engine and the regulations are strictly controlled to make sure that all the driving is equal. Right, they come through then to start a new lap, a fresh lap, and right now it's Morgado's turn to give everybody else a tow down the straight. They'll benefit from less resistance thanks to the hole in the air that the leader's punching. It all tightens up, but Morgado holds firm, late enough on the brakes to keep the other 3 at bay, and he's quicker through turns 2 and 3. Heading for the right-hand hairpin, super late on the brakes there for David Griffiths. He's been exceptional at that part of the track and must have pulled off 3 or 4 good moves there under braking in this race. That was the pick of the bunch so far though, really committed on the brakes, the slick tyres giving him plenty of adhesion when he really needed it. You get the distinct impression that David Griffiths does not want to let Cristiano Morgado out of his sights. He knows just how good the reigning champion is, and after the South African won the pre-final relatively comfortably, Griffiths will know that he cannot afford to let Morgado get a break, otherwise he'll be off into the sunset. So we're about to go towards the start of lap number 18, which means there are just 4 to go here in Portugal, and then we'll find out which of these 4 drivers is going to be the 2012 DD2 Masters champion. Will it be 2011 champion Cristiano Morgado? Will it be David Griffiths? Will it be 2009 champion Scott Campbell? Or maybe even Portuguese driver Gonzalo Gaivo on his home turf? Campbell now goes wheel to wheel with Griffiths in the battle for second, but Griffiths had the inside line for the right-hander and stays ahead. This is exactly what Griffiths does not want, to get embroiled in a battle with Campbell for second place, because Morgado is beginning to edge away in the lead. And is Gaivo going to have something to say in all of this, having worked hard to catch the lead group in the middle of the race? He hasn't really gone for any moves yet. Meanwhile, Martin Pearce has really got his head down in 5th place and is beginning to reel them in, having shaken off the American Alan Rudolph, who spun down the order. There he is then, the Irishman on a mission in the closing stages, as this time Campbell finds a way past Griffiths and gets into 2nd place. So has the Canadian got enough time and enough speed to be able to do anything about race leader Cristiano Morgado? He's just under 1 second up the road and we've got just 3 laps remaining, so Campbell is going to have to get on with this. Morgado, Campbell and Griffiths, the top 3. They've been the 3 dominant drivers in this race, the only 3 to take the race lead. Then it's Guyval, still hanging on to their coattails in 4th, as we've still got Martin Pearce, the 2008 Rotax Masters Grand Finals champion, charging after them in 5th. We're heading into the closing stages then of this entertaining race. Just watch them as they whip through this final turn. You really get a sense of just how quick these karts are and how much speed they're able to carry through the corners with their low centre of gravity, their stiff setups and huge levels of grip generated through the slick tyres. On to the final lap then. Campbell, Griffiths and Guyval are closing the gap to race leader Morgado, but he's still more than half a second clear, and try as he might, Martin Pearce in 5th place just cannot quite get onto terms with the lead group. So I think this has become about the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th in these closing stages of the race. 2 places on the podium remain and there are 3 drivers going for them. Campbell and Griffiths have been in the top 3 for the entire race, while Guyval has yet to break into the top 3. Right about now would be a good time to start, but he's almost out of time and they've already gone past the best overtaking opportunities of the lap. But if there's even half a chance, he might as well go for it. There's nothing quite as frustrating as finishing 4th, just outside the medals as it were. I don't think Guyval is going to do it though, because the checkered flag awaits, and for the 2nd year running it's going to be waved to the South African as Cristiano Morgado wins the DD2 Masters Grand Final here in Portimao. 2nd place goes to Scott Campbell from Canada, and the British driver David Griffiths will have to settle for 3rd place. So there's Cristiano Morgado about to head to the top step of the podium as he becomes a 3-time champion now at the Rotax Max Grand Finals. A winner in 2003, 2011 and now 2012. And nobody's ever achieved 3 titles before. Alexander Miguel Mestre, the Portuguese Secretary of State, is here to present the trophy, which gives you some idea of just how highly regarded the event is. Well done also to Scott Campbell, who made the 6,000-mile journey from Canada to be here, and he's been rewarded with a 2nd place finish, while David Griffiths completes the podium. They might not be in the first flush of youth, but there's no substitute for experience, and we've enjoyed some terrific racing from the DD2 Masters.